Welcome into Countdown to Game Day, covered by State Farm. We got Sam Ravech in the building, Terrika Foster-Brasby in the building. I'm Christine Williamson, and we're getting you ready for College Game Day at Iowa as the 6th-ranked Hawkeyes welcome 2nd-ranked Indiana to town. It's very exciting. Excited to be here with you guys today. How we feeling? How we doing? We good?
We are good. Feeling good.
This is the most exciting time of year for so many reasons. But, I mean, seasons are made and broken in these next couple of games. But, I mean, it's so awesome that Game Day is there. Today. It's going to be a great atmosphere.
Right. It'll be certainly lit. Before we get into that matchup, because we're going to talk about that matchup a little bit later, but we have to talk about something that I feel like the entirety of women's college basketball are talking about. It's very obvious that we're going to talk about this team at least at one point today, so we might as well start off our show talking about South Carolina, who, by the way, guys, has been in the #1 spot in the AP poll for 35 straight weeks. Now, South Carolina really just taking the entire college basketball world by storm. Are they becoming the new UConn?
So I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Let's pump our brakes on that a little bit. But for a couple of reasons, right? So there's the obvious. One, UConn has 11 titles. Right. South Carolina has 2. So there's no way that just yet they are on that pedestal in terms of, a better part of 2 decades, UConn has dominated women's basketball in South Carolina, really just starting to assert their dominance over the last 5 or 6 years. But I think one thing that I am going to say, and some people are not going to like me for it, but I'm going to say it anyway, is that I think South Carolina has helped to begin the parody of the game where people were tired of hearing about UConn.
Yeah.
People were tired of talking about UConn. And now we have so many other things that we can discuss. You can talk about the narrative of the stories behind what Dawn Staley has done at South Carolina. You can talk about how now people are wanting to go to Columbia, a place where at one point in time no one even thought of. You can also talk about how there is this story about how South Carolina plays basketball. There are just so many things that you can turn to with this team that are more positive, and that bring us so much more energy to talk about with South Carolina. So they are not the new UConn yet, but I love the fact that they have asserted their dominance over the last few years to put them in the conversation.
I'm with Terrika on this one, too. I think they are certainly getting there, and they are well on their way. I think it is hard to win a national championship. It is harder to win 2, never mind 2 in a row. But considering what South Carolina is doing this year, and the emergence of Camilla Cardoso at 6'7", the second-year transfer from Syracuse, they have a scoring margin of plus 32. I mean, it's just kind of silly, the numbers they're putting up. They have one of the best defenses in the country, holding opponents to 59 points per game, and they're scoring 82 points per game. So, yeah, try to beat South Carolina this year. And everyone's tried. Nobody's succeeded.
Exactly. So that is why they are undefeated. Okay, so we want to talk about something that's a little controversial. Okay, South Carolina, as I mentioned, 35 straight weeks at #1 in the AP poll. However, Indiana, who's currently at #2, did get 1 vote for #1. Now, before we get into the specifics of what we think about how this should be done, what do you guys make of this specifically?
So I'm going to say that I understand the rationale behind this, right? South Carolina, to me, should still be the #1 team just based off the fact alone that they are undefeated. And I feel like undefeated teams should not necessarily fall in rank. But that does not mean that other teams should not have the opportunity to get votes. And I think it's a very sticky situation. And again, I understand wanting to vote in different directions based upon how the AP poll should look to you, and based upon what a #1 ranking means to you. But all in all, as long as South Carolina remains undefeated, there is no reason that I can see they should fall from the #1 spot.
Right.
I completely agree. I don't really like the fact that you penalize or ding a team because they are undefeated. I mean, it's the same thing with a coach of the year conversation. If a coach gets a team to go undefeated, and the conversation around that is well, they had a team that just went undefeated and they were kind of good in a bad conference. No, that you shouldn't get dinged for that.
Right.
You should be celebrated for it. And I think South Carolina, until proven otherwise, has been the best team in the country, regardless of a down year in the SEC. They've proven it in the non-con as well.
Right.
you got to keep in mind, Indiana also lost to Michigan State this year. Michigan State is not good.
Right.
And South Carolina doesn't lose that game. So that's where I stand on it.
Okay, so it does bring up a broader conversation. I do want to read this quote from the voter who voted for Indiana, Mitchell Northam, who gave Indiana that first place vote. He said on Twitter, "Nothing against South Carolina, but the Big Ten is stronger than the SEC this season, as you mentioned, Sam. So Indiana has played a tougher conference schedule. Gamecocks needed overtime to get by Ole Miss. Hoosiers beat ranked teams in Ohio State and Michigan. I wanted to reward them. Simple as that." When you think about the AP poll in general, right, Terrika, you were kind of mentioning this. What should the nature of the voting be? Should we be rewarding teams based on what they do that week? Should it be a week-to-week vote?
I wish I knew the answer to this, right? I think we all do. And it reminds us of something that we brought up in our pre-show meeting where we were talking about how this conversation comes up all the time in college football when we're talking about the college football playoffs and how the committee ranks teams. And a part of me leans that it should be week to week, which is why the polls are weekly. It's why it's the whole reason that we're looking at how a team performs and how that team measures up throughout the course of the season. So I feel like it should be a week to week situation,
Right.
but then it begs the question of, how do you reward teams who play very well during certain weeks and don't play well during the other weeks? Because the fact of the matter is, a bad team can have a good week, right? And it doesn't mean the overall body of work makes that team suddenly a good team.
Right.
You just had a good week. And so you should at least get some type of compensation for having a good week.
Yeah.
I'm with Terrika on this one, too. And I'm not the biggest fan of the AP poll. I think we have, and I know it's based on some metrics, but we have more metrics, I think, in computer numbers to kind of decide who's the best team in the country, as well as our own two eyes. We can see it.
Yeah.
Right? But my question is, like, how much weight are we putting on conference successes, and how much is that going to weigh into an AP poll decision? Because if that's the case, are we not ranking Houston number one on the men's side, or we're not ranking Gonzaga at that time? I mean, UConn has been playing in the Big East, and they played in the AAC as well, in a couple years ago. Like, they were still top of the nation in a lot of these computer numbers. So I think you have to look at it more holistically. And I also am not so sure that you can put so much weight on conferences themselves.
Okay, but here's the thing. It is impossible to rank anything week to week. What are we basing anything? What's the baseline?
That's the question.
The question
that's
is, what's the
the main
baseline?
question.
If I know that South Carolina is the number one team in the country, okay, this week.
Right.
Next week, is everybody at 0? So then how am I comparing the other teams? How do I know it's a good win if I'm saying, okay, Indiana has good wins? Okay, how do we know that if we're starting from 0? It's the same thing I say about college football. The same thing when I say with the committee. I'm like, okay, you guys aren't starting from 0 because that's impossible. You have to look at the entire body of the work. So it's just a very interesting conversation. And I understand what Mitchell was trying to do, but like Sam said, you can't discount. South Carolina didn't have anything.
They didn't do anything wrong.
They didn't do anything wrong.
Just because they go into an overtime game,
Exactly.
that doesn't mean that they're not undefeated.
They won.
They're still the team that we know that they are. But are we not giving the SEC enough credit, or are we giving the Big Ten too much credit when it comes to the conference conversation?
Do you want to start here, Sam?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of giving credit or anything really like that. I think that the Big Ten has had a really good year, and I also think that the SEC has also had a good year. I think you're talking about South Carolina a ton. Tennessee has gotten better. I also think LSU is going to be a formidable opponent in the NCAA tournament just because of the game they played against South Carolina. Keep in mind, you had 1.7 million people watch that game. That was an exciting game, and LSU actually did some good things. The problem is they're playing South Carolina, and they are just that good. So, I don't think it's a matter of are we giving enough credit to the SEC or the Big Ten. I think they're both really good conferences.
Yeah, I am going to agree with that and just take it up even a little bit more of a notch, because I do think that the Big Ten is a great conference, and I think the SEC is also a good conference that never gets the respect that it deserves in basketball, men's or women's. But here's a stat for you. The SEC has 8 teams in the NCAA net ranking. ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12 have 9. So the fact that there are so many voters that are taking so much weight away from SEC wins when they're literally only one team away from having the exact same amount of net power rankings as the other 3 conferences that they're putting so highly. And think about this, Duke could just enter the conversation from the ACC's perspective, and there's no way you can tell me that Duke can win against South Carolina. So realistically, they are kind of shortchanging the SEC. And Cora Hall, who's a journalist who wrote a really great piece recently about the SEC and how she voted. And I think it's a travesty that only 2 teams from the SEC, which is LSU and South Carolina, have been ranked that high or have been ranked at all. When you look at UConn, who people will say, well, UConn has been dealing with injuries and all this other stuff. But regardless of that, they've still managed to be in the top 5 for the entire season for the most part. So we're not going to discredit, what a team has done or hasn't done based on injuries. We're going to look at how they play and how they've been playing. And the SEC has certainly been shortchanged.
I like that you said Duke. There's no way that Duke would beat South Carolina, because that's going to lead into this question. Would you take South Carolina or the field? T, you can start us off.
Yeah. What do you got, T?
I am taking South Carolina. I think that as I mentioned earlier, I love the fact that there's so much parity in women's basketball now. And that parity is with everyone else but South Carolina. I think, again, they've got good wins over UConn. They have wins over Stanford, wins over LSU. So they've got wins over the top teams in the country. And again, to the point of, we're not going to say, well, LSU had a soft schedule. We're not going to say UConn doesn't have their full team. You're going to play who's in front of you, and those teams are still ranked top 5. So South Carolina, for me, it's theirs to lose.
So I'm going to take the field. Like I said earlier, I think it is really hard to win a national title, and I think it's really even harder to win one twice in back-to-back years. We were just talking about the top 25. If you look at the top 25 right now, there are 7 teams in the top 25 that have 5 losses or less, which means there are 18 teams that have more than 5 losses in the top 25 right now in the AP poll. So having said that, you got to win a lot of games to win a national title. South Carolina is the only undefeated team in the country right now. I just think that the margin for error has gotten a lot smaller. And I think they're going to play some teams maybe that we aren't even talking about that are going to provide some difficulty in the NCAA tournament. I mean, teams on the bubble are going to provide some challenges to some high-ranked teams this year. I think we're going to see a ton of parity in the tournament.
Well, here's one thing I will add to that very quickly. I say this in NFL all the time, that you want to take a good loss right before you get to the playoffs, right? Because you don't want to go into the playoffs in a place where this time if you lose, it can send you home. I don't think that if South Carolina, very similar to last year losing to Kentucky in the SEC championship, I don't think them losing in the conference playoffs will either A, make them now a bad team, B, it won't remove them from being the overall #1 seed, because I believe that's where they're going to fall overall. And C, did I say A, B, and C, or 1, 2, and 3?
No, you go.
A, B, and C. And C, I don't think that it will determine how they perform in the NCAA tournament. But I do think if they are to go ahead and get that loss out of the way, the best place to do it is in the conference tournament.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's always good when teams lose a little bit before they go into the postseason, because then they can actually figure out what they have to do to correct before they take an L, and it actually means that they're not playing anymore. Sam, what you're going to say?
No, it's just hard to. You just mentioned that their loss to Kentucky. That's almost been a year ago, right? I mean, it's March 6th last year they lost to Kentucky. It's just crazy to think that this is what they've been doing. I'm not gonna say that they won't run the table again. I'm just saying that I'm more inclined to take the field in this conversation that
I would just like to say I am sorry for Sam's mentions, because if anybody in South Carolina gets wind of what you just said, they might blow up a little bit. Okay, so South Carolina takes on Georgia today at 12 p.m. on ESPN2, and right after that, on ESPN2 and the regular season finale, and after that on ESPN, we have Indiana and Iowa.
Caitlin Clark and the Hawkeyes are Big Ten tournament champions.
I remember losing to them 3 times last year.
For some of our returners, that stuck with them.
This is a big moment. Over 13,000, some record in the crowd here. Berger spins it in. She's the only one I've seen do that. I'm that girl.
How about that shot? This is today's crowd.
Indiana gets the W.
We play in front of 13,000 every single night. Sold out Carver Hawkeye Arena is 15,000. That's what it will be when Indiana comes back to town.
I love a good rivalry. I love a good, this team wants to bounce back and avenge their win. Okay, so obviously, College Game Day coming from Carver Hawkeye Arena ahead of number 2 Indiana's visit to number 6 Iowa. Regular season finale, a lot on the line in this one. What are you guys expecting in this matchup?
Gosh, I am expecting a lot of great shooting out of Iowa. I mean, honestly, it's to the point now where I don't watch an Iowa game if I don't expect to see Caitlin Clark at least shoot like 4 from half court.
Right.
Like, that's
what you're getting.
That's the standard now.
Right.
100%.
Indiana's been great this year. They've been really exciting to watch. And now we're going to talk about Teri Morin and the job that she's done there. I think she deserves a lot more credit. But Indiana's got 4 players averaging more than 10 points, and it's veteran-led. I mean, you talk about Mackenzie Holmes. You talk about what Grace Berger's done for this team. I remember calling an Indiana game in the tournament. I believe it was actually during the COVID year, the year after COVID. And it was just really exciting to hear from Teri Morin about the job that she's done there, and all the players who have bought into her system. So I'm really looking forward to this game. It's going to be really exciting. Considering what Indiana's done this year already in the Big Ten, I mean, they've clinched. So this game, I'm not going to say it means nothing, because it definitely means something to Iowa.
Right, for sure. I want to go back to what you said about Caitlin Clark shooting from half court. Did you guys see her on Game Day yesterday when she was talking to Reese Davis? And she said that she only expects her range to expand further as her career goes on. So, I mean, maybe she'll be taking those shots from like the end of the other court. But I do want to talk about Teri Morin.
She'll be in the parking lot.
Can you imagine a commercial with her and Steph Curry just like being like, who can shoot?
That'd be amazing. But I do want to talk about Teri Morin a little bit, because you mentioned that they clinched, right? That's the first time that they've won the Big Ten title since 1983. And I'm just going to go on and venture and say that none of us were alive then. So it's been a minute. What do you make of the job that she's done, T?
She has done a phenomenal job in a program that has literally seen in a complete 360 under her leadership. And this year, especially for me, I feel like it means a lot as we're celebrating still the 50th anniversary of Title IX, and how she is someone who constantly preaches and talks about the advocacy for women and women in this league and in this sport. And so I appreciate everything that she's done in the Big Ten. I love that the players have bought into everything that she's selling, and you can absolutely tell that they enjoy playing for her. And not only that, but the community around Indiana has also begun to feel the excitement. I mean, there were 17,000 fans plus. They are selling out the arena there. And I mean, credit to South Carolina as we bring them back in, because I think they were really one of the ones that you could start to see selling out arenas. UConn was another one that sold out arenas. Indiana is now on that same point, and you've got to give it to Teri Morin. It's part of the reason for that.
She's deserving of all the awards that she's going to get, and I think she should be certainly in the conversation, maybe a front runner for National Coach of the Year this year. Like you said, for buy-in, I mean, that's so important, and I think this was just a home run hire at the start. This is a person who's Indiana through and through, right? I mean, she is so proud of this program and what she's been able to build. Now the all-time wins leader at Indiana. So I'm really happy for her. Like I said, I remember talking to her before the NCAA tournament a couple years ago, and it's just amazing to see how far this team has actually come and where they are now.
As you mentioned, she's the career wins leader earlier this year, but this is her 9th year at Indiana. And Indiana has set a single season record for wins and has won 14 straight games. So she's just doing it all. She needs to be getting a lot more credit for sure. Okay, let's talk about both these teams combined, right? Do you feel like either of these teams, T thinks South Carolina is going to take it all. She's taking South Carolina over the field. But do you think that either of these teams are title contenders?
I think Iowa, I'll speak on both really quickly. I think Iowa wants to perform much better this year in the tournament than they did last year. And I think that is the motivation for them to try to make a deep run in the postseason. But I think Indiana has the best chance to be a title contender over Iowa. For all the reasons that we literally just mentioned, the fact that the players are playing well, the fact that Teri Morin has the team buying and believing, and the fact that they have been setting records this year, I think that they're going to go into the postseason with the mentality that they can actually win. I think for Iowa, it's redemption, but it just won't be enough.
Any team that can shoot the ball really well is going to be a problem in the NCAA tournament. both of these teams shoot the ball well.
Right.
And when you think about kind of what Mackenzie Holmes does, I think she's only taken like 8 threes. She doesn't shoot really many threes at all. But Caitlin Clark certainly can make a ton of threes.
Right,
We know that. And Indiana does have a couple of players that can make a lot of threes. So I think that these two teams, we're going to see a lot of great shooting today. I think as far as the matchup goes between these two, like, who can play the best defense, basically, and who can rebound? Because all those missed shots, you don't want to give up second chance opportunities. And I think that was a little bit of an issue for Iowa last time around against Indiana this year.
All right, we've mentioned Caitlin Clark a few times now. She's averaging 27 points per game and leads the nation with 8.1 assists per game. That 27 points a game is third in NCAA. Are there any cracks in her game, though, T?
God, now my mentions are about to blow up now. Uh-oh. The tables have turned. So it is so difficult to criticize Caitlin Clark because she does everything so well. Like, it's just, there are hardly anything. So now I'm just being nitpicky, right? Like, I'm just trying to find something that's wrong because there's just not many things that are. And the only thing that I can really find that stood out to me is that I wonder, where does she go in the third quarter? She averages 5.9 points per game in the third quarter. And that's the only time that I'm wondering, like, is Caitlin Clark on the floor? And she is on the floor. She's also only shooting 6 for 22 from 3, 27% at that time. And so if there's anything that I want to see from Caitlin Clark, is I want to see you show up in the third quarter the same way that you show up so clutch and so big in the fourth, and the same way that you start off games so incredible in the first. That's the only thing I got, Sam.
Watch, she's going to go off for 25
Now
points
she's going to drop
in the third quarter.
in the third quarter today because I mentioned it. Hold my beer, Terrika.
There's flaws in every player's game. But I will say that I think Caitlin Clark is just about as close to a perfect player as you can find in college basketball. And she just does everything. She's scored in double figures 80 straight games. I mean, that's silly. Her numbers are just insane. Wow. And I think the third quarter thing is fair. I think it's a fair criticism to make. But I also think when you consider what she does around the other 3 quarters, it's hard to argue that she's not going to be a front runner, at least for the National Player of the Year this year again.
Yeah.
I mean, she's probably in the third quarter when you think about her taking out. She knows she has a fourth quarter to play, so she's just kind of backing off a little bit.
Just pumping the brakes a bit.
Pumping the brake, as you mentioned, Sam, 80 straight games with double-digit points. I mean, she knows she's going to get there, so she knows she doesn't have to show up in the third quarter, so she can save.
She's saving her energy
for the fourth quarter.
I get that's what we're gonna go with. I mean, it's very clear that I am picking on you right now, Caitlin Clark. Like, you're just so awesome. There's nothing else that I can find wrong. So
score more in the
score more.
Also, I would like to mention that she's shooting 37.9% from that distance range. It's just wild. It's insane. Okay, so it's now time for Wood and Watch presented by Wendy's. And for this, we're going to focus on one of Sam's favorite teams because it's Notre Dame. Sophomore guard, Olivia Miles. I know you're like an ACC player. What do you like about her game, Sam?
Olivia Miles is much-watched TV. She's very similar in the way that she plays to Caitlin Clark, aside from the fact that Olivia Miles has struggled a little bit to shoot the 3 this year. But you cannot turn away when she is on the floor because I think she's one of the best passers in the game. What they call her in South Bend is Magic Miles because they like to compare her to Magic Johnson.
Love that.
So, I mean, she has very similar kind of attributes to the way that Magic played. Her vision is just insane. And she makes this team better. She's also, by the way, playing about 40 minutes a game.
Wow.
I mean, she doesn't come off the floor. This is a Notre Dame team that lost Dara Mabry earlier this year to an ACL injury, so she's out. This is a shorter bench as well. Lauren Ebo has been missing time, and Olivia Miles has just kind of taken over the league.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, she's just so much fun to watch. 13 points in that game over Georgia Tech. And she's also a finalist in the top 10 for the Hoop Hall's Nancy Lieberman Award.
Yep.
And to even be considered for this award, you have to be able to display floor leadership, great ball handling skills, being able to shoot the ball. Like, obviously, she is someone who deserves to be in this conversation. And, of course, it's so hard when it comes to the Wooden Award over all the other players that have, of course. But she's certainly in the conversation.
And she's being coached by one of the best guards ever.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Niele Ivey is a legend there, of course, and those two have a really great relationship, and Niele's talked about that before. And it's just, they're fun to watch. They're a fun duo to watch because they converse, and it's almost like they can speak the same language. That was just a crazy shot, by the way.
It was crazy.
Yeah, that was a crazy shot. They can just kind of speak telepathically sometimes. They'll just look at each other, and and Olivia will know which play exactly Neil's thinking about running.
She said she just zoned out on this play. She's like, I didn't even know that I just threw the ball up and I just zoned out.
It's just in her bones. I would like to say too, you mentioned the fact that her passing game is like Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
Just watch her pass. The underhand passes, all the way down the court, just like zoop. I literally could never, and have never seen anything like that. You guys got to watch her. She's absolutely electric. Okay, so now let's do Now let's see What If covered by State Farm. It's the final day of the regular season for a lot of conferences, including the Big Ten, ACC, SEC, and Pac-12. The Big East final day is tomorrow. So let's look at some bubble teams and kind of play out how some things might go down.
Let's do it.
We love playing a little
bubble talk.
Okay, so let's start with Princeton, who's currently last four in. They're the number 11 seed as an at-large team. What if they lose before the Ivy League championship, T?
So for me, right, I think that there should be, this is so off the rails what I'm about to say, but I think there should be some consideration for the fact that this team has not only done well this year, but it's done extremely well over the last 5 seasons.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Right? Like this team, so in my opinion, give this team some, traditionally, we've seen bigger Power 5 schools get in the conference and get in the tournament where we've been like, there's no way they should get in. They're just getting in because, and take it to the men's side, Michigan State gets in every year, and every year we don't deserve to be in the tournament, but we do it anyway, right? I think Princeton is a team who has won 20-plus games over the last 5 seasons, and field expansion makes it a reason for them to at least be able to have an at-large game. And I don't trust Columbia as much as I trust Princeton, so I think they should get it.
I love how earlier in the show we're talking about how AP should be week to week, and T's like, let's look at the last 5 years.
Look at the last decade.
Last 5 years. That's some preferential treatment here.
A lot into consideration. What do you think, Sam?
Carla Berube has done a terrific job at Princeton. When you look at the last couple of years, she's lost, I think, 11 games, and she's almost coached 80. So, I agree that Princeton has been really great the last couple of years. What kind of was the style for Princeton Tigers the last year was their defense. They had one of the best defenses in the country, beat Kentucky in the NCAA tournament last year because of that defense. And they bring back a couple of really key players for this team. I just don't think that their defense is necessarily at the level it was last year. And Columbia is on the rise as well. They got a good young coach there. The Ivy League, I wish they could get 2 in. I'm just not sure that they could.
Yeah.
So.
All right, let's go to the ACC. Talk about Syracuse, currently last 4 in. Number 12 seed as an at-large team. What if Syracuse doesn't make it into the semis of the ACC tournament?
They need to. They don't play today. I mean, their season's done. Their regular season's done.
Yeah.
And I've made the conversation. We've talked about it on games before that head coach Felicia Leggett-Jack should be in the conversation for ACC Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Certainly the most improved team, I think, when you look at what Syracuse has done. Last year, a team that went 4-14 in ACC play. This was a program that, for lack of a better word, was kind of in disarray over the last couple of years, what's been going on. And then Coach Leggett-Jack comes in, her jersey's in the rafters, her name's on the floor there in the dome, and she brings a couple players with her from Buffalo. Specifically, you're seeing on the screen right now, Deasia Fair, who's kind of taken the ACC by storm, and we kind of questioned whether there'd be a little bit of a drop-off for Deasia Fair. That we were sadly mistaken there.
Yeah.
I mean, she has just been on a different level. I think Syracuse still needs to make a run in the ACC tournament, and I think they need to do so, maybe winning 2 games. But like we said, they don't play today, so they don't really have an opportunity until the ACC tournament. But maybe they get a little extra rest. Who knows?
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. For one, on the Felicia Leggett-Jack situation, we've already seen how incredible as a coach she can be with what she did at Buffalo. So getting an opportunity to coach at a bigger school with a bigger name where she already has history has been tons of help for her. But to your point, like, it has to come down to the ACC tournament. If I'm not mistaken, I think they've got Wake Forest and Georgia Tech coming up. So, like, these are wins that they absolutely must have. And I thought that Syracuse was actually going to make that push when they got that win over Miami. But then
sorry, Christine.
Christine.
Should have seen Christine's face.
Game yesterday, too.
I triggered.
It's just like,
I have triggered Christine, and I apologize.
there's a lot going on down there.
But But that, for me, I thought was a start to an uptick for Syracuse. And then, unfortunately, losing the 3 after that made me think, like, if they don't make a deep run in the tournament, in the conference tournament, they're done.
Right. Okay.
Sorry, Christine.
Now I've hurt
No, it's totally
Christine's
okay. It's
feelings
okay.
this Sunday.
Before we go, we do got to give a quick shout out to number 8 Utah, who just took down number 2 Stanford to clinch a share of the Pac-12 title. That's the first ever.
Yeah.
Literally ever, like
Ever.
ever in the history of ever. So, I mean, it's pretty much, that's a pretty big deal for Utah, right?
That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
So then the Utes are now a number 1 seed in the latest bracketology. We are nearing the top of the hour. So of course, if you are watching on the app, go on and log in and watch College Game Day on ESPN.
Let's go.
Thanks for watching Countdown to Game Day, covered by State Farm. Enjoy the show. Enjoy all of the basketball happening today. And we will see you guys very soon.